So you get like firefighter and like your it's like a magician one too.
What game is this?
The Magical Adventures of Mickey Mouse on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, is with
it's
the
an old
Anastasia
game.
thing with the?
Wait, what?
Is that the one where you start as like Steamboat Willie?
No, you start as like normal Mickey Mouse, and you get these costumes, and when you put them on, you get certain powers. Great game.
Because Mickey Mouse on his own, he ain't shit.
Yeah, he doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's
I'm
doing.
just saying.
It's got to be a wizard.
He can like laugh funny, and that's it. And that's how he fights people.
I don't know. That's
but then he
pretty
gets the costume, and he's all good to go.
I've been in a fight before where I tried laughing at someone and it ended with me with a swollen eye.
That happened to me too, man.
We're live if you want to talk League of Legends,
All
Gabe.
right.
I know that's your forte.
Yeah, welcome everyone to the Nexus Podcast. My name is Gabriel Zoltan Johan, and with us today we got Ryan.
What's up? I'm Ryan. That's right.
And we got Josh.
Hello.
And we're here to talk to you about some pretty big news. There's so much breaking news, especially today. Everyone took Memorial Victoria Day off,
Yeah,
and
up
they're
here
just
in
like,
Canada, yeah.
they're just like, fuck it. We're just gonna release everything right now.
They really put us on the grind here today, but it's exciting. There's so much to talk about, and guys, without further ado, let's take it away.
What do we got to talk about, Josh?
So I think first off, the thing we have to talk about before we get into some breaking stuff, is obviously MSI.
Yep.
Which has concluded with a result that probably many of us saw coming.
Oh yeah,
it's not a spoiler even. Like if you didn't see, you already know.
Our whiteboard had a thing on it that was who's going to come second to SKT, not who's going to win MSI. We already know who's going to win MSI, and that is what happened. SKT did end up winning against G2. I actually really like that we have this sort of dynasty, this sort of perfect team that no one can contest.
Why do you like that?
Yeah,
even right now with NBA going on, we've got
people
the Cavaliers.
love that.
People hate the dynasty. People love that who are fans of that one team. Everybody else fucking hates it.
The reason why you love it is because you're seeing greatness in action, right? You're seeing the best
greatness
of
when I
a
look in the
generation,
mirror.
right? LeBron's great, Curry's great,
Yes,
Baker's great, Coma's great, Banks great. You're seeing something that's like really serious and really big, especially in such a nascent early scene, this kind of dominance. Two, it tells other nations, other teams, other regions to like wake the fuck up, right? Like these people
Haven't they known that for years?
No,
though?
but it's a new level of what can be achieved in the game, and I think that's really exciting too for other people to be put on notice in that way.
I just don't like I love to see a close game. Like I'm not denying that SKT, obviously they're playing incredible League of Legends. That's not, nobody's debating that,
Cool.
I think.
Good,
but for me, it's like I just want to see like an insane game. Like I want to see.
Don't you want to see a good game though?
I want to see good play, but I also want to see close play. And right now we only see one of those two things. You know what I'm saying?
I think the finals you got close and good play. Like SKT was behind for two of those games, and one of them they got stomped, but the other one they came back and they did really well for themselves. So, it's not like they weren't put to the test, but I think it's really exciting to see that they were put to the test and they just passed it with flying colors. And they're looking good doing it too. They're playing good League of Legends, and it's not good in the way that it is good in the way that I think it's good, like very technically good and whatever, but also looks really cool and it's really flashy and they're making a lot of aggressive plays. I just don't think you can't not like this team in the way they play, I think.
I agree with you there. I mean, the people on this team, they're either like essentially gods or they're lovable. I think we even saw Hooney this tournament had a couple moments where he had to really step up in situations where other lanes were not doing so well.
Yeah. Do you see that Faker Casio versus Maples LeBlanc? It was disgusting. That's good League of Legends. Just watching someone completely, utterly dominate their opponent like that. That's good. I like it.
It's good League of Legends, but it's clean. It's technical. It's too clean. There's nothing more than I love about, some like the promotion tournament.
Crazy ass fighting.
Yes, unpredictable shit.
You're still getting that.
You're getting unpredictable shit. It's championship and any sort of championship level eSports sports. It's a lot of just safety. It's a lot of doing what you do really well. I mean, the fact that SKT won in the fashion that they did, it didn't surprise anyone. Yeah, it was good to watch, but it wasn't surprising. It wasn't hype. It wasn't exciting. It was just another display of good play. Meh.
So you think it's too clinical, basically? Yeah, like it's just a little bit too sterile for you. You want people to get dirty. And
yes, man, mix it up. Do some crazy shit. These guys, again, if you can't take them off their game because they are just so stellar and composed and they work well as a team. I want to see someone like, again, the bane of their existence that can just always get under their skin, always make them make poor decisions. Right? Sometimes it happens. Who's the one in their league that not always beats them, but can beat them?
I mean, they had a few teams that were kind of nuisances to them. Old Rebels Anarchy turned Africa Freaks. Those are the people that really get under their skin. And Flash Wolves too. Yeah. Flash Wolves did very well for themselves. It's not like it's not like they swept through this entire tournament. They still dropped a few games, 3. Mm-hmm. And so, it's not like they can't bleed, you know what I mean? So I think it's really good that we see this high level of play. And even when they're winning, they're doing it sometimes from behind. And they're doing these kinds of like crazy, chaotic, aggressive moves that Ryan really likes, but he doesn't like the team for whatever reason.
Okay, well, how do you feel about G2 making it to the final? Did you foresee that happening, Gabe?
So I put out an article that put G2
going on record.
Self-promotion.
It put G2 4th. Now, that was pretty accurate given the play that they had in the group stage where they didn't look good at all, and they only made it through this kind of final day of action. But I think they played really well when you started getting these best of 5s and you started getting these like really long series where they had the ability to adapt. Not going to get too technical on that, but like I think they did look good once the tournament kind of expanded to those best of series. I'm pretty excited about how G2 is going to look in the future if they can keep that up. It just seems like best of 1s and like the inability to adapt there is going to be a big problem for them come Worlds. I'm expecting them to make Worlds. Come Worlds and when they get into that round robin group stage. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm a big EU fan. I was happy to see them in the grand final. Mm-hmm. And honestly, this team, I think now you can't really throw the whole choke argument at them anymore. Obviously,
no, definitely not.
Defeating Team Wii in the semi, like these guys have proven they can go to the big stage. They haven't proven that they can beat SKT in a best of 5, but I don't know. There are many teams
that have proven
that. So I'm really happy with G2's results. I think unless you're in some scenario where they somehow beat SKT, I mean, what they did is pretty much the best you could hope for outside of a victory in the grand finals.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Can I just pick your brain about how do you feel about MSI as a tournament in general? The time, the invites, the play-in stage, the whole works. How do you feel about it?
I think the new format was pretty good. I don't like that this tournament was so long.
It was very long.
It was a month long. I don't like that Worlds is going to be a month and a half. That's insane.
If it's Worlds, at least that's something I can get behind. This mid-season invitational bullshit where I've got to wait 5 more days for the finals, semis. Honestly, if it's a mid-season invitational, make it short and sweet. Make me entertained. Make me watch this between watching the actual seasons that matter and leading up to Worlds. This should be more about fun, quick, make it happen.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I also don't like... The reason I don't like that it's so long is because there's so little turnaround time before the teams that attend and the next split. The next split's starting next week. These teams have no time to get ready.
We're running into that right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff's getting announced. Deadlines are happening, and the next split is right around the corner. And you hear teams complain about how quickly you have to hit your stride. You have to get right in there right away. Build that roster, build the chemistry, and there's almost no time to do that.
Practice,
right?
Yeah,
and that's some shit I want to talk about. But first, can you tell me why people are talking about some less than streaker hopping on the stage at MSI? What the fuck's going on? Why do people care?
So Just to clarify, he was not a streaker.
Exactly, less than a streaker.
Less than.
Okay.
Hey,
And-
he was he's just as much of a person as any of those streakers are, Ryan. Okay,
So
he's
what-
not less than them.
So why am I hearing about this?
Well,
Who's talking about it?
Basically, a fan got onto the stage is what happened.
after
And-
SKT won the
Yeah.
whole thing, so they're all like hugging and shaking hands, and this dude just like comes on stage is hugging every SKT member and is shaking their hands and like joining the group huddle and stuff. Is very strange.
So why do people care?
So
What do you?
it's a potential security issue.
Yeah,
Get the
totally.
fuck out of here. Potential
Totally.
security issues. This the fucking Pope?
Well, I'm
No,
just
but
saying-
like imagine like someone's taking shots on the court, warming up and stuff, and some guy's running over like
just blocks
fucking
it.
blocking the shots and just
Kyrie-
jumping around.
Kyrie's throwing
They're
out
like
jumpers.
trying to
Hold on, did he
play
go in and-
one-on-one ball. Like that's ridiculous.
He didn't mess with his fucking mouse clicks or
These
anything.
people are still like professional players. They
Yeah.
deserve to be in a safe and secure environment where they can perform to the best of their ability. Seriously, it's not. Why would you allow this? Like it's the same thing at pitch invaders in soccer, right?
Yeah,
like
it's like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Absolutely.
yeah, but those people, like that can still be dangerous. And normally when pitch invasions happen, it's multiple people. But when it's one person, that's a different element of danger prescribed to that.
How
right?
many times have
Like,
you seen it happen in so many sports? And not
but-
only that, but like press conferences with like
It
George
only
Bush
takes
and throwing
one.
shoes and
It
stuff.
only takes one, and the bad press associated with something dangerous happening too is like deafening.
It happens all the time in football games, all the time in baseball games, and the directors will just cut away from it, so other fans will get the ideas
But those
to
people
do it.
never really get access to the players directly. That's the thing.
I think it's
Sometimes
the
they
same thing
get
as any
close,
sport.
though.
Yeah,
Sometimes
they get
do
close.
It's the
like-
same thing as any sport. This is going to happen. The more and more esports gets in a traditional style 20,000 stadium where people are able to hop the boards and go streaking or run up with the fan and celebrate with the team, that shit's going to happen. Security threat? Get the fuck out of here.
I think it's super interesting, actually, that you bring that up, because how effective is a streaker or whatever going to be in esports when the camera's not going to be on you anyways? You know what I mean? Like
I was streaking.
no
Did you
one-
see?
yeah.
No, I just saw
I was
gameplay.
watching the
Yeah.
game. Yeah, like
Wow.
no one's going to be
I think what
watching
you
it.
do is, if you're streaking in esports, and like I'm not recommending anybody do this, but if you're going to streak in esports, what you do is you streak right in front of one team that you don't want to win because you want to distract them, right?
Yeah,
like maybe a
true.
Baron play is going down, and like it's G2 versus Wii, right? And you
Yeah.
go right in front of Wii, and you whip out your Wii.
Just
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? And you
Try to put that Wii on the shoulder. See if you
yeah,
turn
go
around.
over the top of the monitor. Like I don't know. I don't
That's
want to get
still, I mean,
too
that's
into
gross, and that's still a
But
security
I-
threat.
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm just
Security
saying-
Totally
threat.
is. What if?
Listen, some
There's
people
so
talked
many-
about putting them in those, those soundproof
Yeah, totally.
I don't like
glass
that.
things.
I
That
don't
is
like that.
literally making them like the fucking Pope. They are just a few people at center ice or whatever, center field.
Hey, Baker's
playing
God,
the game.
man. I don't know.
Let it fucking happen, man. Let the fans do the shit
So-
and let security worry about that stuff. This should not be making headlines.
Yeah,
we
let
should not be talking
security
about
worry about that stuff, but security didn't show up for like a good 20,
it. Well, guess
30
what?
seconds.
We shouldn't be talking about it.
So what happened? What happened
we
though is this guy. I don't know if you guys know this. It's not like it was like a theater where there was like you guys are on the floor and the floor is
yeah.
the same as the team. This guy jumped down like 11
There was a
feet.
lot of time
Good
to catch
for
this
him.
guy.
Like
Good
he
for
hopped
him.
a railing and fell like 11 or 12 feet
and then
to the
ran
ground.
to the stage.
Security threat. This only makes it funner for me. This is cool. The fans are getting involved.
Oh my goodness.
Praise this man. Yes.
Would you support you remember the ACC summer finals that happened?
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would want like stage mob on that stage.
Listen, if
going
that
up
shit
there.
happened, that would be funny as hell. The fact that one person decides to jump and go and celebrate, not a big fucking deal.
But what if he had like malicious intent? That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
Like,
that's-
what if he hurt a
He's
player?
not the president. It's not the president of the fucking
But what if-
country.
but what if he
it's
hurt-
just a
It's
pro
close
player.
though. He's close. Though. Baker's close though.
But no, seriously though, like what if he hurt a player?
What if? I mean, what if a player decides to pick up a fucking hammer and hit
That's
himself in the
so
head again? The
different.
fact is, I'm
That's
just
like
saying, you can't
not even comparable.
You can't outlaw hammers, and you're not going to stop people
Yeah, but
from
you can-
jumping this shit. That should be dealt with a security level with those local security guards, and that's it. On top of that, the fans, if they want to go and streak and try to celebrate with the fans, by all means, go for it, man. Yep. I think it's exciting. It's not dangerous.
We don't recommend it.
No, go for it. Unless you're streaking.
I want to point out one thing that I thought was pretty interesting about this incident, which is that I was actually at a Hearthstone tournament in the Bahamas. I know, it's a really hard assignment.
Tough life.
And while I was there were very few fans there because it's in the Bahamas. But the fans that were there could literally walk up to people. Like you could walk up to Tice and say, "Hey, what's up?" And that was a really interesting atmosphere. So when the tournament was over and Shtan Udachi won, all the players got on the stage. There was a photo op, as you would expect. However, after that, people just wandered up and said congrats to people. There were no security guards tackling people there. And it was okay.
It's the Bahamas. It's a resort. It's a relaxed life. Also, it's a card game. I don't think anyone's gonna streak at Hearthstone or run up to people mid-turn and try and
some people are really into Hearthstone.
Yeah. I don't know if that passion it will translate into that type of activity the same way it would for a MOBA.
Listen,
okay. I just wanted to point it out as a different kind of atmosphere.
Oh, totally. It's the same. It's the same in the fighting game community. Toryuken happened this past weekend. You could just sit down and play games with Justin Wong. There was no problem. There's no issue with that. There's a different level to that though between being in an intimate environment such as Toryuken or the Bahamas and being in a large stadium where there's
a lot of people,
a lot of potential for that kind of malice and that danger.
And Riot, to their credit, apologized for the response time, said it was unacceptable. They also said they didn't think somebody would drop 12 feet to get to the floor and do this.
But
which I agree.
Listen, for all the dumb shit things that Riot should take responsibility for, this is not one of them. They've got to start prioritizing what they're addressing here, because this should be at least their concerns. They got a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, they're really busy, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, what one of the things that they're really busy about and they're really focused on is
rosters?
New international event.
Oh,
yeah, I'm so excited for this.
Okay, tell me about it.
All right.
I love it.
Josh?
So it's called Rift Rivals, and essentially it's going to pit a number of regions against each other. So it's going to be NA versus EU. For the NA EU LCS, but it's LCL versus TCL, so the CIS league against
it's pretty
Turkish
region specific aside from NA EU because they're not that close compared to the other places.
But it's pretty sweet,
it seems a little forced. That one seemed a little forced.
So essentially, and I like the way you put this, Gabe, on Twitter, is that it's kind of like a little taste of the FGC.
Yeah, totally. I love it. I love the format. I love that. You were just talking, Ryan, you're just talking about something quick, fun, fast fun, it's Dominion, whatever. You were talking about, I just want an event to be 3 days a week. Just give me the fucking best teams.
Get ready for Rift Rivals.
All right. Yeah. Maybe not the best name to communicate that, but this thing's only a week long. It's super casual. Doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things aside from bragging rights. I really like that kind of event that brings about character and personality and does so. And honestly, it is a little more competitive than the All-Star event. And I do like that as well. So even though the format's a little more casual, people who don't follow the FGC don't really know how hype crew battles are.
Yeah.
The crew battles are so hype.
I've seen it.
So awesome.
And I was fucking blown away.
When one person just sits down and is just that entire, Team Canada taking you the fuck out. One person just dummying everyone else. I love that. I think that's great.
So to clarify what happens at these tournaments is there's a round robin where everybody plays other teams once, and then you get ranked, and then it's the top 3 teams from each region.
So the 3 teams already go.
Right.
And then you do your round robin, and the teams are ranked based on their standings.
They were relative strength.
Yeah, and so then 3 seed plays 3 seed, and then the winner of that plays the 2 seed of the other region. And it keeps going until one region's left.
So it's legitimately NA number 3 plays EU. Okay, you actually have it up on the screen. Sweet. So it's NA number 3 plays EU number 3, and then whoever wins plays the next best team of the other region. And it's, if you get knocked out, you're out.
Think of the scenes if EU number 3 just sequentially takes down every single North American team. The bragging rights, it'd be insufferable. And that's what I love about this. Is that even though this is so casual, the bragging rights implications, the kind of stuff, the personality that's developed from this would be insufferable in terms of like who gets to brag and how important people make it out to be. I like it.
It's also the hype of a reverse sweep in this format is incredible.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay, so with this Rift Rivals, so NA versus EU has this crew battle thing going on.
All right, you have a problem with the name?
Yeah,
what would you call it? What would you call
it? And then when we get down to Santiago CLS Studio, look at those guys. They're just doing a regular old fucking boring round robin. That's not very cool. It's not as cool as the NAEU.
I guess not.
What else is happening here?
It's kind of hard because if you have 3 teams in a region, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you do a crew battle?
I guess. You could just snub one.
It would be interesting to maybe eliminate a region instead. Obviously, that's not what they're doing.
That's what the Eastern regions are doing. Korea, China, LMS.
Really?
Yeah.
The best LCL and best TCL
So what happens is there's 3 of those regions, and then, they'll eliminate...
exactly.
So that is what they're doing. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
so I think that's really cool.
So why can't our friends down in South America get down with the program
and like join us? I guess because they don't have comparable regions to participate with, because there's just LAN LCS.
I'm just saying it's literally the exact same thing. Take 3 regions and just do it like.
Well, because your choice then becomes like, do we group NA with Latin America North and South, or do we group NA with Europe, where the viewers are, where the actual like bigger rivalry is? You're just,
I'm just not happy with this South America thing.
Well, then watch the other one.
I'm going to be watching NA versus EU.
Yeah, everyone
that's super
is.
exciting.
Everyone is. Everyone is.
EU, like I'm a traitor to NA. I'm definitely an EU fan, and I think EU is looking like they could have some really strong teams for this. So. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's a great event.
And you're not the only one. Cyberman GT out on YouTube. We read these comments. We see them. And by the way, this new tournament looks good.
Yeah.
I agree.
The Rift Rival.
It's not trying to play itself up to be anything more than it is, right? Yeah. They're not saying like, hey, this is another Worlds. Like, let's just do it. It's just a very casual, bragging rights-esque type event. And it's so quick. It's so quick. It's going to be so easy to pull off. I mean, the biggest problem that I have just in my mind is because it's mid-split, you're asking NA teams to fly to Berlin. That can get a little dicey, the top teams flying to Berlin and then having to come back immediately after. Other than that, though, I think this is great.
It's a convenient excuse, right? If NA gets swept, you're on
you're coming onto home field territory, man.
All right, cool. Well, this is going to happen July 3rd to 9th.
Yeah.
So, all right.
But with this news, we bid farewell to a staple in international competition as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, totally. IEM is not hosting League of Legends tournaments anymore.
I actually don't know if this thread is still up. I thankfully printed a copy. Sometimes you should print things. Not tweets, though. That's really uncool. Don't print tweets. Don't print a tweet and show it to someone. That's
Screenshot
weird.
It, yeah.
But yeah, so Carmack posted on Reddit essentially that this is it for IEM League of Legends, at least for now. We're not going to have an IEM, and I guess it seemed like, based on this this post, that Riot was not willing to work around the Katowice
schedule.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been something.
It did get removed.
It got removed.
Yeah.
Help.
Vote manipulation. Okay.
It was removed for vote manipulation?
They apparently.
Okay, well, I don't know. I can't pass judgment on it, but it was there. I have a copy of it. And essentially, I guess I want to know what you guys think about this, because I'm sort of a newcomer to League of Legends, as you might know. And so while I know that IEM has always been a staple, I honestly didn't care about it. I didn't care for it. And for the most part, like why is this tournament happening? I don't know. It didn't seem like a particularly important part of the circuit, and now it's, we're going to have opportunities to do other stuff, like they're doing this Rift Rivals thing. So, what do you guys think?
Let me just say that when you jumped into League of Legends, IEM was at its trough.
Its lowest point.
It crashed and burned.
Yeah, it was like no one wanted to go to these tournaments because they were in the middle of a split where people would rather play their domestic league because of different reasons. Fear of relegation maybe be one of them. Maybe they want to just prep for winning spring split, whatever, right? Like they couldn't get visas. There's like a lot of different.
Couldn't get visas.
We've heard that before.
Couldn't get a visa.
Thanks, EDG.
Couldn't get a visa because we didn't ask for one because we don't want to go to this tournament.
So like, this is really a response to this kind of lowest point for IEM, for League of Legends specifically, not for the other tournaments. They still do great work for the other tournaments.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot given that, their previous tournaments were plagued with tons of production issues as well. But
could that have been the breaking point from the last IEM with the lag issues where G2 said it wasn't?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah. I mean, it's still so those are still issues too, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
And that's a coordination thing with Riot, but it seems really clear to me that this is like primarily a business decision.
It's really clear to me that Riot sabotaged with the lag, and now IEM is out, and now Riot has it all to itself.
I mean, they had it all to themselves
anyway. They could have chosen not to do it if they wouldn't have to sabotage.
They fucking sabotaged it.
Keyboard or whatever. But.
They made the lag happen.
But I think IEM has great historical value. I can see why they want to pull out. It is a great business decision to pull out of League of Legends if you're Carmack and if you're IEM right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, and also I think it's kind of like we're losing IEM, but could we get some more international competition just like on the Riot official side? Which if we do, nothing has yet been announced. Like we have Rift Rivals, but that probably wasn't going to conflict with Katowice. So if we do, I mean, that's great. I think that would be great. But for me, like I was the guy like this time last year, maybe, who was writing up all the spot news about teams pulling out of this event. Nobody wanted to go to this event. It was plainly obvious. And then some teams who were like lower in the priority list or whatever went to it, and like it sucks because I would like better and more frequent international competition. This event though, at least during the time I've been following this game, was not providing that.
It's a really awful choice that big teams have to make. They have to either choose to focus on their domestic league or take the time to like do these international competitions that suck up all these resources that we talked about before. So if something Riot-led can come through and reduce the burden on teams to put in those resources to commit to those events, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I would love to see a tournament outside of Riot. That's all I'm saying. And IEM was, I guess, the biggest one.
Yeah, it was.
And it's I'm just sad to see that go. I would love somebody else to take it on, to do it differently, to get it out of the hands of Riot, so we're not at the mercy of everything that they want to do. Not saying that they're an evil corporation that sabotages IEM, no. But I would just
I think you did say that 5 minutes ago.
That was a different voice. That was this person. No, I would love to see a different tournament. That's all. A different tournament, done a different way. I don't know how it can work, but I'm sad to see IEM pull out.
So, like, it's not so much that you don't want Riot to do it. You just want to see what people might do with like tournament formats and stuff.
Just hate monopolies, man. I hate the man. I hate the 1%.
Welcome to eSports. Exactly. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get an international replacement, but if we do and it's Riot run, I think that's okay, and it's kind of like the new reality. I'd like to. I think just of these situations, like Riot explicitly wants their leagues to be region locked.
Yeah.
They explicitly want, in some cases, in what we reported, they want franchising. They want these brands to develop, right? It just makes perfect sense to me that they want to commit to that system and keep regional growth as opposed to forcing international competitions that may go awry, similar to what you saw with respect to IEM production issues.
That's actually a really good point. I didn't think about the link to franchising, but I think if you are potentially looking at investing in a franchise, there's got to be that question, what kind of exposure do I get outside of the league? Like I get what the league is, but what other opportunities are there? Like, are we filling stadiums outside of Worlds? If my team's probably not going to Worlds, what other opportunities do I have?
Yep.
And if MSI if IEM was like the thing that you were pointing to, like, oh yeah, we do IEM, Maybe that wasn't the most attractive option to investors. I don't know. Like that, this is obviously speculation, but it would be interesting if we see some more events that are sort of like showcase events, or they're selling tickets in stadiums. That's probably something that an investor is going to be like, yes, that, you know?
Yeah, and we don't really know the limits of like league or any esport being frequently in stadiums. So you could see actually like viewer fatigue, like live viewer fatigue specifically. So not necessarily Twitch viewer fatigue. We see Twitch numbers rising for a number of the domestic leagues. But if you're all of a sudden saying like we're committing to more events in stadiums for people to attend, you probably could see a lot of like live viewer fatigue. So they probably want to scale that down a bit so they don't have people committing to those events as often.
Yeah, cool. Maybe.
Well, I mean, we've talked about MSI. Now we've talked about the Rift rivals
and IEM,
right?
And IEM,
and the loss of IEM.
Rest in peace.
Now, I want to tell you. Just mentioned that Riot likes to, I guess, grow locally in their regions, right?
Yeah. Think locally.
Think
play
locally.
Globally.
Now, in EU, we're going back to the Summer Split now, EU had the Misfits Academy and Fnatic Academy both grab the promotion spots for the EU LCS. Now, when that happens, like I already feel bad for these challenger kids who, you know, are trying to make it into, say, NALCS, and then they realize that next year, you know, it's go to franchise and whatever happens. And meanwhile, you've got kids on the challenger side in EU who finally win the fucking promotion tournament. We're going to the LCS. Nope, you're gone. No longer exist.
Yep. Well, I mean, to be fair to specifically that Fnatic Academy lineup, 4 of those 5 players already were in the LCS. They had played previously in the LCS. So it's not like some ragtag bunch of kids.
They played, but they're still trying to play to get there again.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but let's frame this a little bit for those who might not know what happened. So we had 2 spots that had to go. Like you said, Ryan, we had the Fnatic Academy spot and the Misfits Academy spot. Misfits Academy sold to a German company called Mysterious Monkeys, which is owned by another German company called Ad Hoc Gaming. So this other spot still had to go, and it was reported in ESPN that it was going to be Ninjas in Pajamas, and then that was confirmed today. After the roster lock, we found out it is in fact Ninjas in Pajamas that have purchased the spot. So Ninjas in Pajamas are in, but all of the Fnatic Academy players who were on that team are out. And that is what we're talking about.
Those poor people, man. Those poor people.
So I think for me, the thing is, like Gabe said, people say, oh, path to pro, there's no path to pro. But like you said, like these people were mostly already pros.
Yeah, totally.
And for me, I think the real problem here is the way that this entire thing is framed. Because those people on the Fnatic Academy roster were getting paid to get Fnatic Academy into the LCS, right?
Yeah.
There was no guarantee, as far as I'm aware, that those players would be guaranteed a spot on another roster.
Yep.
And so for me, you got to make sure you're getting paid up front. You know, if you're doing this, if you're like, yeah, I'll get you into the LCS, you got to make sure that you are getting paid. And if you're not getting paid in advance for this in a way that would allow you to say, well, I didn't get on the LCS team, too bad, that is an unfortunate situation. Because even if they say, yeah, we'll put you on the LCS roster, things totally change. And
Ninjas
it's a
in new
Pajamas,
organization, all that jazz. Yeah, I think if you're a player, you should look over your contract, obviously, to make sure that every single base is covered. No, I'm serious, because like, you know, there are some teams that will be like, yeah, we'll renegotiate your contract once you get promoted or whatever. And then at renegotiation, they're like, well, you know, renegotiation means that you're not contracted under us anymore, so we don't have to compensate you with anything. Bye.
Yeah.
And like, I've seen that way too many times. And then the other thing that I've seen is players never asking for a cut of the sale. Like, as like if players never say like, if I'm not on the roster, there should be a clause where I get a percentage of the sale. And you should have that if you're getting cut from the roster, because you should be compensated for your efforts in some way beyond the pay that they're giving you just to participate in the Challenger Series and not necessarily to be promoted.
So with that said, so people who sign up for Challenger teams sign on Challenger teams that are not affiliated with an LCS team.
Okay.
They probably have the understanding that if we win, this is our spot.
Yeah, totally.
Do you think people in the Fnatic and Misfits Academy knew that if they won, that their spot is not guaranteed?
Yeah, because there's a rule around
Yep.
not owning 2 spots under an organization, right? So you should know that spot's being sold. That doesn't necessarily mean you're being sold with it, right? Like, just the spot itself is being sold. We saw with FlyQuest, they bought the spot separately from the contracts of the players, which they, negotiated separately for a different price, right? And that's something that, makes sense and is standard business-wise. But it's also should make sense for you as a player to protect your interests in your contract with the organization that you're promoting.
So why the uproar from people on Reddit, and why am I hearing buzz about this?
So there were players that made statements about what had happened, and I guess
And the coach.
And the coach, yes. And essentially, it sounded like Nip might have been interested in some of the players, but the players sort of said, we want to all keep playing together. And Nip said, well, sorry, we're not willing to do that. So in that sense, it's like, if you know that 3 of you are good to go on this team, but then you decide well, we're all going to go or none of us are going to go. That's maybe an honorable thing to do, those 2 people, but
bad negotiating tactic.
Yeah,
number one.
It's
awful negotiating tactic. I don't know what they're thinking with that.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks that way. I get the honorable sort of we stick together, ride together, die together type deal. But sometimes the answer is die together, I guess, and that's sort of what happened here. And it feels bad to me because I would love to see those players in the LCS because they did fight their way into the LCS.
Totally.
But, and this is something I want to talk about in terms of this discussion, is even before this happened, it was about a week ago, I actually saw a tweet from Yamato Cannon, who's now the coach of Vitality and was formerly the coach of Splice. And he said, essentially his tweet said, I'm paraphrasing here, listen, just because you get promoted to the LCS does not mean that in the eyes of the organizations in the LCS, you are a top 50 player. So just because you get there doesn't mean people want to pay you to play for their roster. And it honestly feels to me like the idyllic, let's put together a roster and we'll make it to the LCS someday. When was the last time that happened? It seems to always be teams re-promoting or academy teams of organizations with tons of resources who can more or less get what they need to at least have a really solid shot at making it back to the LCS. When was the last time that happened?
Last grassroots kind of promotion.
I honestly don't know.
I'm trying to think. It might have been NA. I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you think of Origin, they're that was still off the back of very experienced players and blooding in new people. And then, TLA didn't get promoted.
Yeah, I honestly don't know the answer, but it seems to me like the result is we're living in a world where most of the time it's a team with resources. It's not random people who found themselves in Challenger and said, let's go for it.
Yeah, but you can't do that because Challenger Series is played on the tournament realm, which is hosted at least in NA, it's hosted in the West Coast. So people have to be on the West Coast if they're going to play optimally in an optimal environment in their games, right? And then you have to be in the studio when promotion relegation happens. So you need the resources to get a house or offices or whatever in order to do that.
We got people in chat saying Cloud9. So is that
Cloud9 was Quantic. Yeah, that was season 3. So I mean, I'm sure, I'm 100% sure. I mean, if we're being serious about that grassroots effort, I think my choice, the example I would give is MVP in the LCK when they got promoted and they stuck around and went to 5th place. That's one example, but it's also Korea, so I don't know how much stock you take into it.
I guess.
Misfits Academy, I would even say, originally was kind of a grassroots effort because those players, I think all of them have never been in LCS before. So
can you tell me about these teams, Mysterious Monkeys and Ninjas in Pajamas? Who are they? Where'd they come from? And how are they going to do?
I mean, Ninjas in Pajamas, legendary Swedish organization, mostly for Counter-Strike and 1.6. And they've kind of branched off. They were in the LCS before.
They were.
With main EU caster Deficio.
The man himself.
And Bjergsen was on Copenhagen Wolves and not MIP. Anyways, yeah, they had a lot of people kind of go through their ranks.
Yeah.
And then they fell out of the LCS. So, yeah, pretty exciting.
What have these guys been doing for the last 3 years?
CS.
Collecting Counter-Strike prize money?
Yeah,
well, I guess not
sticker
recently,
money.
though.
Sticker money.
Yeah. Their CSGO team hasn't been in excellent form recently, but...
I put out like a funny meme about this NIP roster though,
yeah,
and like they did not. It's very clear from this NIP roster that they did not have a lot of time to put a roster together, or if they did have a lot of time, they didn't do really good like scouting efforts by any means. Because I think this roster looks super bad. It looks real bad.
Why?
So I think it's probably the former, just to say, before we answer the why question. Like, roster locks are today.
Yeah.
So today was the day that you had to have stuff locked in.
And they, were still bidding for the spot a week ago.
Yeah.
Against other teams.
So they can't have had a lot of time to be like, this is... Like, they might have had an ideal roster in mind, and it sounded like maybe that roster included 3 of the Fnatic Academy guys. Honestly, from what we've heard.
Yeah.
And so then if that goes down, and they're like, well, we can't take them, we're not taking any of them, you're starting from square one?
Yep,
I guess.
basically.
Maybe you kept 2 players from that unannounced roster that would have included Fnatic Academy. I don't know. Like, maybe you were already scouting out those 2 other positions, and you're like, these are the guys we want. I don't know. But, yeah, they can't have had much time. So why does it blow, Gabe?
Okay, you're taking... Okay, let's start from the top. Not top lane, the top.
Okay.
You're taking a coach who has proven to do worse on a team than if that team was without a coach.
Oh my goodness.
Nico the Pico?
Yeah.
Right.
He was on Fnatic. They were doing horribly. Then he left Fnatic and they made playoffs. So
okay, but that's a pretty small sample size, right? Like, that's
sure,
one split.
But he was
he was
on Origin and he didn't do too hot on Origin either. Like, that's whatever. And then you look at the roster, and there
go to
are
his Twitter profile, right?
a couple names stand out to me. I think Prophet's a bright side. He's super young. He was a sub for SKT, sub for Huni. He was sub
this year.
Yeah, he played super well in the LCK games I saw. He even played against KT Rolster in one of their their super team games in the LCK, and he won that game. And he played super well on Rumble. I think he's a very good player with a lot of potential. I don't know if he's going to be that good in an environment that may not, boost or bolster his potential as much as SKT would, because SKT and Coma, very good at breeding talent.
There's infrastructure there.
Yeah, totally.
Or we don't know what kind of infrastructure Nip will have.
And it's an infrastructure that's, familiar to Prophet because it's like Korean-speaking individuals, Korean culture, all that stuff. This is stuff that you used to get accustomed to as a result. I think Shook is, a decent jungle choice, whatever. Nagne is one of the silliest choices that I've ever seen.
Whoa. Why?
A LCS roster make. This dude has not been relevant since season 5. He was on second tier China teams and making them worse than they actually were. It was he does not look good. He has not looked good since season 3, season 4, and I don't understand why exactly.
Gabe, man, now you're just making me want Nagne to do well. I want the redemption
you know what?
story.
I wish all teams the best, but when it comes to looking at this roster on paper, it doesn't look good at all. Spraddle was probably the worst player on Schalke.
Have this team been playing together at all?
No.
They just signed. And
like I said, the team was like the organization was still bidding on the spot.
Yeah.
Like not even a week ago.
So you think that these are individual contracts and this is not a team of dudes that play together?
I don't think. Yeah, they definitely were not. Like we definitely didn't have Prophet playing with these guys for the past little while because he was on SKT.
Oh,
like,
true.
There's no way, right? So this definitely looks cobbled together.
Now, what about Mysterious Monkeys?
Mysterious Monkeys, I believe they're taking in all of the Misfits Academy players and the coach. I think that's really good.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea because you get like synergy. You get people that you are already familiar with each other, and they actually look pretty good. They look like an actually good team. They beat Schalke, who everyone expected to stomp through the Challenger Series. Yeah, and I'm actually pretty excited to see where they go. I think Unlimited is a really good coach too. So
here's my thing. We got synergy baked into this team already. And then for me, that is the thing that really sets this apart from the NIP thing. These guys have already played together, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that said...
Also, it's really smart to know that you only have so much time before a deadline like roster lock. And, I mean, barring crazy moves like getting Bang & Wolf as your bot lane or whatever, like, you know... like if the opportunity presents itself type roster move, I think it's really smart to just be like, you guys were playing well together. There's a certain synergy and dynamic there already. Let's work with it. Let's go with it and see how it goes. Because, you know, at the end of the day, this split, if they are good enough, they may just, you know, stay up anyways.
And so with that said, do you think that the two new teams, Ninjas in Pajamas and the Mysterious Monkeys, be it Misfits Academy, do you think that these two are going to be back in the relegation promotion tournament?
It's too early to say.
Way too early.
But if I were to guess, it depends how the groups work out too, right? Remember that group format? I don't expect Ninjas in Pajamas to do well though. I just there's no way.
Hopefully my boy Nagne proves you wrong. You know,
like this is a team. This is a team that in a week and a half they're gonna have to play their first LCS match. Yeah. They haven't even gotten together to play scrims probably yet.
Okay, so question, Gabe, because you're sort of a little bit better at this analysis stuff than me, I guess. This versus the Origin roster that we saw last split. Is this better or worse than Origin at the beginning of the split, do you think?
Oh, this is better than Origin at the beginning of the split. Origin at the beginning of the split was like, there was no win condition. There was no good thing about that lineup. At the very least with this lineup, there's some potential in specifically Prophet and Shook.
Yeah.
That's it. What? It's seriously like okay, that Origin lineup, like everyone knows that was god awful. Everyone knows everyone knows that might be. No, I can't say that's the worst roster in LCS history because Velocity exists, Velocity eSports. So, but it was bad. It's like it's worse than the old Winter Fox lineup where Avalon, who is the brother of Seraph, played on that team. So, like, he only was playing on that team because he was his brother. Like, that's the only reason why. So it's like a little worse than that. Okay. But still better than Velocity.
Well, hey, like let's see what happens to Prophet then. I mean, we've seen sometimes when they bring in like import top laners that the top laner is sort of forced to carry like that, or at least that's what Hooney said when I spoke with him in an interview. He said he felt like he was kind of forced to carry sometimes. So let's see if that's what happens. Is he going to be on tanks, or are we going to see like some crazy stuff out of the top lane for them?
Oh yeah, Helios's brother. Sorry, not. Not. Yeah.
Man, we got some people in the chat really taking us to task.
I got too angry about that Winter Fox nepotism that I forgot.
Yo, let me just say, poor old Origin. In this spring split, they won 2 maps only.
Yeah.
Just 2
maps. They were
maps.
not good. I think, they were not good.
That's rough. All right, anything else going on with the whole roster shuffle thing? Other than that, I'm going to play the music and turn you guys off.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of moves. We're going to be keeping
some we can't really talk about.
This is trade deadline hour.
The other thing as you should mention is roster locks for NA happen tomorrow, the 24th.
I think the big thing right now is who is Envious's new coach, because Dylan Falco left to Fnatic, which I think is a great move personally, just because Dylan, I think, has shown himself to have really specific strengths on Immortals and Envious. Both those teams had amazing early games, and those teams really did not do well afterwards. So if he can evolve his game, his coaching style, his ability to coach those like later stages of the game, I think he's going to kill it in Fnatic. So I'm pretty excited. I think Fnatic fans should be very excited about Dylan Falco. I know the Reddit threads and speculation and stuff have people doubting Dylan, but I do think that the way he coaches the early game is fantastic, and I think I can see that translating well to Fnatic. So.
Well, any other big question marks? People are talking about Dardoch to CLG, possibly. Anybody?
Yeah, well, no, we didn't do a show last week, so I mean, we gotta talk about that stuff now. I like that swap, that Xmithy Dardoch.
I'm capping you here, though. This is it. This is the last topic.
You sure?
Yeah, we're gonna talk. No, we'll talk about Dardoch and Xmithy swap for sure, but.
No more?
Ryan looks like he's going to fall asleep.
Get the fuck out of here. Tell me about it, man. Tell me about it. What are the other big question marks?
So I know. I really like this move. I know you talked to Xmithy.
Yes, I did.
And we have great pieces, a couple great pieces on that that I encourage everyone to check out. But what did you find when you were talking to him? Did this seem like a positive move for him and for Immortals specifically?
Yeah, I think so. And when you look at the roster, he told me basically, I'm not coming in here to be the person who has to carry this team. He said, I will if I have to, but it's more of like a leadership thing. It's more of like, Xmithy is actually 26. He just turned 26 earlier this month.
Wow.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he brings to this team. And if what he told me is any indication, it's going to be more of a supportive thing.
Yeah. With Dardoch, I really like this move. I think it's great for two reasons. One is, CLG is the friendship team. Everyone knows that. I think he's gonna, maybe cool down a bit as a result. But I think another big thing about this move that I really like is Dardoch is now playing with people who are as good or better than him mechanically, and I think he's the kind of player that kind of asks for your respect in that sense. Like, he's the kind of player where he almost has to be the worst on his team. Not that he's a bad player, but he has to be on the worst on his team in order to collect respect for the other players on his team, because he found that when he had his biggest problems on other teams, it was when those players were not performing mechanically well. Like, talking about how people were Jinth and Matt were diamond shitter bot lanes, whatever.
Oh man.
But seriously, like, I think he has to be like one of the worst players on his team in order to succeed, and I think he's going to do that on CLG, because Stixxay and Afro, mechanical gods, who he's like pretty good in his own right. Darshan had a shaky split, but we've seen that potential before. So I think if they can get that respect from him, which I think is very easily obtainable, as opposed to a rookie bot or new bot lane in like Cody Sun, Ole, Pobelter wasn't having that great a split. I think they can do very well for themselves, and them finally having an aggressive jungler will probably unlock a new great playstyle.
It's Return of the Faith Age, baby.
What do we call this? Do we call this the break age?
The break age?
Like breaking
point?
Yeah.
Why the breaking point?
I don't know.
Listen,
you should watch that documentary.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, is that like a wrap-ish?
Yeah, we'll talk about the other news next week.
I got so much to ask you. Is Golden Glue coming back? What's happening with Double F? Is he taking over Turtle?
My boy
they're
Golden
combining together. That's what's happening.
6 versus 5. Wow!
Jesus.